Dis the Diva. How raunchy. They didn't want me to wrestle. I didn't have a job. I literally just showed up. Actually, it wasn't even supposed to be me. It was supposed to be When you played that, I was like, wow, I've never talked about it publicly. Here we are 20 years later, and I'm still kicking.
Welcome everyone to Ring the Belle. This is DS, and we're here with the 2004 Diva Search winner, Christy Hemme. Yes, how are you?
I love him so much.
I love you too. I've been waiting for this moment our fans have been waiting for this moment for a very long time.
Okay, let's just be real. I've been waiting for this moment with you for a very long time.
So we're gonna count down top 5 moments of Christy Hemme.
This is so exciting.
So the first moment is you winning the Diva Search.
Yes.
There's Christy. Christy, you are the winner of $250,000. Whoa!
Oh my
Tell
gosh.
us about how you were feeling here.
Oh, I can tell just by the way I'm talking. I'm trying to catch my breath, and I'm so excited I can barely contain myself, and I can barely talk. I'm very, very, very proud. Look at, I don't even know what to do or say. I remember right before they announced, I remember crossing my fingers and just like, no matter what, I just wanted to be in the business. It didn't matter whether I won or lost. What mattered most to me was post, like what happens. Like winning it meant for sure I had a contract. So that means, I got the dream, right? But regardless, I wanted to have a job.
When did you fall in love with pro wrestling?
Through this process. I mean, truly, like I was exposed to wrestling as a kid, and I say I was a casual fan, but I guess when I first saw the audition for it, I had a feeling. I just had a feeling, like I just had a, what is this thing, And then when I was exposed to it and I was backstage and I started learning about the psychology and, the camaraderie and the family and all the rules and all the things, I just fell in love with the world and the fans. Like, the fans love it so much and everyone in it loves it so much. Passion.
We have to talk about this very memorable segment, Dis the Diva.
Dis the Diva.
Dis the Diva. That's what I thought. Having a in your mouth has nothing to do with wrestling.
Okay, tell me everything about what happened here. What was going on?
Oh my gosh. So, you know what? The famous line that I gave, right?
You're a burping.
Which everybody's guessed over the years because they didn't know because it was beeped out, right? I was part of a dance team pre-wrestling. And we would just like say stupid things behind the scenes. And I didn't realize how raunchy this was. I guess I felt like I was in the locker room, clearly. But afterwards, my dad was like, what is happening? Like, it was so... And then my split-legged drop, right?
Which we will talk about very soon.
Yes.
What was going on with Carmella, by the way?
You know what, Guy, that must have been a hard position to be in because everybody was pretty hard on her. She didn't love the business in the same way some of the other girls did, which is why I think they were hard on her because they were like, why are you here if you don't love it like we love it, right? She was a great girl. Like, I actually really enjoyed my time with her, but I knew if she didn't win, she probably wouldn't be here today. I knew. Here we are 20 years later, almost, and I'm still kicking.
Let's go to the next moment.
Yes.
The WrestleMania match.
Yes.
Women's Championship against Trish Stratus.
Oh my goodness. I am terrified right there.
Oh, really?
I am terrified. I mean, man, I practiced real hard before, but this was like one of my first matches on the biggest stage of all. And I remember like we had the whole thing mapped out. It was a 10-minute match. Show was going over. And right before I was going out, Vince McMahon said, we're cutting your time to 6 minutes. Trish will call it to you in the ring. And I said, what does call it to you in the ring mean?
I mean, the match was pretty fun, actually. It was a good match.
I made it.
Someone's been training me to wrestle. Someone you know very well.
So did you practice with Lita, actually, Amy?
We did stuff with Finley, and with Trish. When I would show up at a building, whoever was in that ring, I was pulling aside. I mean, it was really a hodgepodge of so many people. But mainly when I was there, it was Fit Finlay that was training me, Dean Malenko, Ricky Steamboat. Like, it was amazing.
I mean, this storyline was so memorable because the segments were so great.
Yeah.
Like this segment with the broken shoe. How's it like working in these like really cool segments actually?
I just remember at that time feeling like I was in a dream. It wasn't like one of those things where I would say, oh, it was a blur and it passed by me. I knew it was a dream. I knew every moment was a dream, and I really like took it in, and I enjoyed every second of it. It was magical.
So your finisher during this time was Twist of Fate, but I have to talk about all of our favorite finisher of yours, F.F.G.
You know she wants to. She's got the legs. She's hit it.
The F.F.G. was a dance move that I did on the mat or on the ground or wherever I did it. And I thought one day, what if I went up on the ropes and like did that over my opponent? How amazing would that be? So we developed it and turned it into the thing that it now is. The name was a joke. It was a joke. And it was one late night at the DoubleTree Bar in Orlando, Florida. And Mike Tenay heard the joke in the DoubleTree Bar of Orlando, Florida. That is the new name. I'm saying it tomorrow. And I said, don't you dare. And sure enough, it's the name.
I think this could be the F.F.G. Here it is, a flying firecrotch guillotine.
It stuck around.
And now I can do nothing but laugh and love it forever.
I mean, I love that because you started doing that like form since Diva Search.
Yeah.
And you brought it all the way to Impact.
I know, it kind of went full circle, right?
Yeah. So people call this like the Playboy Push, right? You are the cover girl of
For
the Playboy.
sure, the Playboy Push.
Yeah.
I don't think at the time I really knew what the Playboy Push was or whatever, right? I'd won the contest, and I knew that it was the perfect spot to shine. I also had a much longer term vision at that time, and that was I wanted to be in the ring. I wanted to wrestle. And at first they didn't have any interest in me wrestling. I mean, there was nobody said, hey, Christy, you start training tomorrow. It was like they didn't want me to wrestle. I literally had to, every time I'd show up to a building again, I'd be pulling people aside, asking them to teach me because I felt like, why would I be in wrestling if I wasn't going to go all the way? My personality is to fight and, do all that. So it was a part of my story, but my goal was definitely work.
People think you just won the contest and got the WrestleMania, but you were fighting backstage.
I was fighting backstage, and I didn't want to win the match. I remember vocalizing that because I felt like I wasn't ready. I felt like I needed to work.
Let's go to the third moment.
Okay,
and
third
it
moment.
is...
Spitfire, I'll tell you that. Watch it. Look at Victoria. And a DDT. Christy with a DDT.
Your vengeance match against Victoria.
Yes! I look slightly angry. You know what? She brought out a level of fire in me that I didn't have until I worked her. And she was one of my biggest mentors as far as learning how to pace a match, be in the moment, have that fire. Like, she really brought something out of me that was new and fresh. She's amazing. I mean, she really is one of the most giving workers in the ring. Like, she works for the match. I cannot say enough about her.
I went to Vince McMahon. Give me Christy. I'll make her look like $1 million.
In an interview with us, she talked about how she went up to Vince and said she wanted to work with you specifically.
Yes, and because she also saw that I was fiery and she wanted to help develop me. And that's from her heart. Anybody that knows her knows, like, from her heart, she gives because she loves. If you go to a fan event with her, her line will be so long and it will take forever because she will sit and give time to every single person. She's just an amazing, incredible human being. And that.
Victoria with a widow's peak.
Greatest widow's pig, people say. And then she also attacked you with the glass.
Yes.
My God! Somebody call 911.
The blood, right? No, it's great because my back is so bendy, you could do things. Like I have lordosis in my back, okay? It's a thing where my back is very bendy. And so we took advantage of that many times with Kong, with her, like.
You better watch yourself.
After this, you moved to SmackDown, had a feud with Melina.
Yeah.
How was that like?
I love her so much. I just think she's one of the greatest villains of all time. It was great for me because I could be like this ultimate baby face because she was so great at her job. And she just brings a level of intensity and sass, like true sass. And then you meet her, right, as a human, and she is like a kind, soft-spoken, sweet. Wow, you hide that in there very well. And when it comes out, it comes out.
Everyone was shocked when WWE out of nowhere released you.
Yes.
What happened
I
there?
was shocked too. I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
You know what? I was heartbroken. Like, to say the least. I loved it so much. I didn't want it to end. It took me a while to come back from that. Because I was training at the time. I was down in OVW. I had my life planned out, like I knew where I was going. And so, I knew immediately I wasn't leaving. Like, I was like, okay, so how long am I under this contract and what can I do next? It was almost, instantly I knew Impact TNA at the time was going to be where I wanted to go.
But you don't exactly know what happened.
I was told it was creatively. There was no creative for me. I had a good run. That's what I was told.
Let's go to the fourth moment because we're going to the TNA era. This segment, I get chills every time I watch this.
This is a Vince Russo segment.
Women deserve respect. They deserve to be more than just a blip in the history of this business.
Let me tell you something, you little
Putting men back in line when they step out.
Final Resolution 2007, you interrupt BKM
Yes.
to cut a promo about women in pro wrestling.
Yes.
There were some boos, and you were supposed to be heel.
This was a very tough spot.
Right.
Because actually Vince in his heart of hearts didn't want it to be a heel spot for me. Actually, it wasn't even supposed to be me.
Oh.
It was supposed to be China.
Oh, wow.
This was supposed to be China.
What about Joni Lauer? What about China? Why is she just a blip in the foundation of DX?
Vince Russo loves China. We all love China.
Yeah.
And something happened where she wasn't able to come, but he had already written it with her in mind. And he was a huge advocate for women and women's wrestling. Because I was so dark at this time, you can tell just by look at my hair, look at my clothes. Like, I really, when I left WWE, it took me years to come back and be more of the me that you know today. Because I was so dark, it's hard to pull off a powerful position when I was really in my stuff. Like, I was struggling in the business. I was hurting from losing something I loved. I was rekindling my passion right at this time with Impact. And it was really that for me was like a butterfly moment in itself, just coming back into myself. So yes, it was meant to be not a heel. It came off heel because of where I was at personally in life.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. Is that when it became more of a heel character then?
Yeah, you have to go with where it's going.
Okay.
It wasn't meant to be a heel. Vince didn't write it to make me look like a woman that was whining and sad and broken. But honestly, I was a woman that was whining and sad and broken. That's where I was at. So it was it was hard to pull off a powerful position when I wasn't feeling very powerful. And he backstage, I remember, now I have memories flooding back to me, but I remember being backstage and him holding my shoulders and talking to me about what he wanted to see from me and what he saw in me. And at that time, I was like, okay, I have to feel that way. I have to feel strong. I have to feel powerful. But I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel powerful. I haven't even thought about that since, just when you played that, I was like, wow, there was a lot behind that. There was a lot of story behind that story.
Right. And I don't think anyone knew about that story.
No. I've never talked about it publicly.
Wow.
So, you know what? Thank you, Vince Russo. That was something really incredible that he wanted to do with me, and he meant it from his heart, and he really advocated for my power as a woman. So thank you.
So doing the storyline as a heel, did that heal you?
It was really hard on me because I knew I didn't pull off what he wanted. I just knew I was in a dark place, and I knew that China coming in and doing it, different story. Yes, she had her own stuff she was dealing with, but she had a position of power the minute she steps into that ring. She gets to own that space at any point in her life.
Right.
For me, I hadn't earned it yet. I was still working hard. I was still like training so hard, but in my mind, I didn't earn that spot in that ring yet.
Do you think the whole like Diva Search and then Playboy, do you think people had misconceptions about you?
Well, I think it will forever be what they remember. And at that time, that was really my entrance into the business. I love my story. I love my story because there's a lot of facets of it, and it goes through many turns and changes. But there is definitely a perception of me, and it is what it is. And I don't feel sad for it. It's just my story.
We saw you fight to get that respect on screen, but I also heard there's a lot of fight behind the scenes until you became the Impact creative team member.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I remember waking up one day in Florida, looking at my husband, and having this idea of what I wanted to do for Shop TNA. He was like, well, do it. And I was like, okay. And so like I remember calling and talking about it, and then they said, oh, Christy wants to just do it. And so they gave me a budget. And
Was that the famous Valentine's
That was the
shoot?
Valentine's
Yes.
shoot. And so I really just caught a vision for this thing, did it. I just worked my butt off and did it. And I remember David Sahadi walking into the shoot, looking around going, oh my gosh, Christy, like you're a director. Like this is like so cool to see you doing this. And when he said that, my whole body got chills. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this so much. I didn't even put myself in it because I was like, I just cared so much about creating it. And I wanted to have all my mind and all my focus on the girls and build as much platform as I possibly could. So that really was the genesis of my backstage passion. And then I remember eventually I kept taking on more and taking on more. And I remember being at a show and Bruce Pritchard pulling me aside and saying, you know, if you love it so much, why don't you move to Nashville and come into the office? The next week, Charlie and I put our house on the market. Sold it in one day.
Wow.
We packed up and left. Went to Nashville. I didn't have a job in the office or backstage. I literally just showed up. And I would show up at the production studios and just be like, what can I do? And I would ask questions, and I was learning, and I was asking for more and more and more. And eventually Bruce had left. Kevin Sullivan kept giving me more to do. So thank you, Kevin. And then Big came into the picture, and he was like, wow, you just kind of like show up a lot. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, do you maybe want a job, like in the office? I was like, anything. You want me to get you coffee? Yes, sir. Yes.
Wow.
I was very passionate. 2014 is when they gave me a creative position.
Wow.
Which was junior, like I was really learning. I was the only girl in the room, and I had a lot to learn. And so I soaked up every minute. I had a little cubicle in the studios. It was so exciting. I was like, I decorated my little office,
Such an inspirational story.
Oh, it was so exciting. I loved it. I loved every single second of it.
Let's move to the fifth moment.
In that ring with Awesome Kong. I mean, I'm rooting for him. And then, good move though.
Boy, kind of early to hang out of the corner. Gonna try for a DDT. Here it is.
She's hit it. Can she finish it?
Your match against Awesome Kong.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you saved this one for last. So the reason why I'm happy you saved this one is because for me personally, this is my pinnacle of my in-ring career. Pretty soon afterwards, I was taken out physically.
Yeah.
And so, but this is where I finally started to see I can handle being in the ring. I can hang, and I'm learning and I'm growing, and I felt the growth, and I mean, a lot of that had to do with learning from the girls and Kong and Gail and everybody that was AJ and Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels and Kazarian and Tracy Brooks. And they all had such an invested interest in me at that time. They were literally teaching me a lot. And so I worked really hard for that match. And I was never the best wrestler. I would never say that. But for me personally, I get to look at this match and feel proud.
A lot of fans had so much respect for you after this match because you showed it.
Aww.
How was it like working with Awesome Kong? I mean, it could be very scary.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I have a spot in my heart, in my memories, in my mind for her like no other because she fills the space completely. I mean, gee, when she comes out, you're like, wow. I mean, I get a little mesmerized and I'm like, wait, I'm in this match too, you know? But she's so in control. She is one of the most well-paced professional wrestlers I've ever been in the ring with because she's so impassioned and at the same time in control, which is a very hard line to walk because if you're so passionate, it's easy to tip over into your own moment. But she never does that. She's so grounded that she keeps you in the moment with her and she takes you on a journey. She's in control.
You felt really safe.
I felt so safe. Wow. I felt so safe. I felt taken care of. I felt like she was working for the match with me. I felt like she took me on a journey, and I felt like she gave me the match of a lifetime for me, you know? Yeah. And she did that for a lot of people, which is why she's being inducted or has been inducted into the Hall of Fame.
You got injured shortly after this.
Yes.
So what happened?
It was over time. It wasn't like one moment happened. I started training hardcore on the road from WWE and then straight into Impact. I never had that. I went to a school. I slowly worked into bumps. It was like no bumps, you know? And so when you're doing it that way, you're going to injure things much quicker without doing it properly.
Right.
And that was on me. I was so excited and fired up and just like I want to do it all now, you know. Over time I ended up herniating. At that time I now have 3 of them, but I had 2 herniated discs.
Oh wow.
And they're up high on my neck. And they were protruding and sitting on my spine. And that is a recipe for disaster. And so one of my last matches, every time I got thrown into the turnbuckle, I could feel paralyzation from the neck down. And it was just like moments, but it was weird. I was like, uh-oh. And it happened a couple times. And then when I went back, I told the doctor about it. They got x-rays and they're like, yeah, you're done. You are done.
While researching for this interview, I heard stuff from like 2015, 2016. You've been talking about a version of KAYfABE, the project that Christy, Amy, Alita, and Gail Kim has been working on. You've been talking about versions of that for a very long time. I did not know that. Yeah. So
the first time I thought about a women's wrestling show, I want to say it was either the end of 2013 or the beginning of 2014. I'm not sure exactly when, but I actually went back in my phone one time to look at my notes because I keep a bunch of notes, and all the way back then I had jotted notes about this idea that I had because Big at the time asked the creative team, so it must have been 2014, he had asked the creative team to think about ideas for a possible Vegas show. And the only amazing idea that I had was a women's wrestling show in Vegas. Right. And so, yes, there's been so many iterations of some kind of women's something, and the reason is because that girl that you saw that could not pull off a babyface moment with talking about being a powerful woman or just having gone through things and being on the other side. I didn't have that then. My journey has brought me to this place, and I have gone through so much to feel and think the way that I think and feel that now I have something to say. I am constantly trying to say these things through some kind of women's wrestling show. And so there's been so many iterations. It's always had Amy and Gail involved in some way, or we're just constantly going through what is it, how do we connect with the fan base, because the world changes, the wrestling industry changes, and you're trying to connect to fans in some way.
Right. So where is KAYfABE right now?
Well, there's a lot of conversation around what it would develop into. We have a few things we're working on right now that I can't talk about.
Okay. But we'll hear about that. We'll hear about
I mean, I feel like I'm always saying that, but at this point, once I get my green light and I get things developed and I can show it, it's really, I can talk about it for how many years now? I can talk about it for 7 years, but it doesn't really matter until I can show something and present it. And then it'll be like, oh, the timing was right. We got our green light. It's like, oh, that's when it's meant to be to say the thing that needs to be said.
So it's coming. It's
coming.
So get ready for it. Something big's going to happen.
Something big.
So from your Diva Search day to now, and I mean, you're still involved with the women's wrestling a lot. I mean,
yes.
Things have changed so much.
Yes.
What do you want to see more from women's wrestling? Or just wrestling in general?
There's so many things I would love to see that I don't even want to say it because it's going to be what I'm creating. For me personally, what I want to see most in the industry is I would like to see women start taking leadership roles. And in order to do that, you have to start developing women behind the scenes. You also have to start letting them create, having a voice at the table, start being a part of the conversation. That is a really hard thing to do. And I remember back when I first did it, walked into the office and just begged for a job, there was no one doing it. And so to see it slowly evolve, to watch women like Gail and Mickey and Madison and different leaders starting to step up and do things, it's like a dream come true for me personally. And also there's a long ways to go because there's still a lot of things we're not seeing on screen. There's still a really big pay gap. There's still a lot of things that haven't been done, and there's still yet to do in wrestling for women.
Christy, thank you so much for counting down top 5 moment with us. What is one thing you want to tell the fans?
Oh my gosh, you guys, thank you so much for these moments. Like this would not have happened without moment number 1, which is the Diva Search. And you voted me in, and I'm here to stay. And so all of that is a result of you guys. And so first and foremost, I thank you. I'm so grateful for this beautiful career that I've gotten to enjoy for so long. And then secondly, I'm just so happy to be here with you.
I am too.
This is my personal dream come true. And I love it. I love your show. I think you are amazing. I'm so proud of your work. And anything that I do, I want you a part of.
Yes! Yes!